Today, the Hall of Fame honors the memory of another member of the great Packer dynasty of the 60s, Henry Jordan. Coming to Green Bay in a trade with the Cleveland Browns, this incredibly quick defensive tackle became a mainstay in a defense that helped the Pack win 5 NFL championships and 2 Super Bowls. A 6-time All-NFL selection and 4-time Pro Bowler, Henry came to the Pack the same year as Vince Lombardi. Together, they developed into Packer legends who now are side by side in the Hall of Fame. Henry Jordan, a quiet, considerate gentleman off the field, passed away in 1977. Today, he not only joins his coach, but 10 of his former teammates as his son Henry Jr. accepts his dad's induction into the Hall of Fame.
I miss you very much, and I wish you were here to celebrate this day together. But I know you can hear me. You are the best. Be content to know that your style and techniques of play have laid the foundation for and inspired many of the great athletes that have followed you. You are the top in your field. Revel in it. The Hall of Fame is where you belong. I love you, Dad. You're my hero. Congratulations, you've earned it.
As we honor the memory of Jim Finks with induction into the Hall of Fame, we can look back at a storied career. This strong-arm quarterback out of Tulsa had a Pro Bowl career that lasted until 1955, when he set out on his true calling, becoming one of the great administrators in NFL history. In 1964, Jim joined the Minnesota Vikings. Winners of only 10 games in their first 3 seasons, Jim brought in Coach Bud Grant and surrounded him with personnel that would lead to 11 divisional titles and 4 Super Bowl appearances. As GM of the Bears, Jim built a team that won a title for the first time in 14 years, and then put together the Chicago team that won Super Bowl 20. His last stop was New Orleans, a team without a winning season in its 19-year history. There, Jim brought in Jim Mora, and just 1 year later, in 1987, the Saints beat the Steelers to assure them of their first winning season. A 2-time NFL Executive of the Year, Jim passed away from cancer last year, and today we celebrate his memory as his son Jim Jr. accepts his induction into the Hall of Fame.
To sum up what Jim Finks was all about, he kept these words written on a piece of paper in his wallet at all times. If we are ever unlucky enough to have it made, then we will be spectators and not participants in life. It's the journey, not the arrival, that counts. Does the road wind uphill all the way? Yes, to the very end. Jim Finks was known as a former Steeler, Viking, and Bear, but it's no coincidence he left this world a Saint.
Steve Largent was the 117th player taken in the 1976 draft. He was cut by the Oilers, described as too small and too slow. But he hooked up with the Seattle Seahawks in their first year for a 14-season, 200-game career. And on retirement, he held 6 major career receiving records, was twice an All-Pro, and played in 7 Pro Bowls. Steve becomes the first Seattle Seahawk to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. The same hard work and dedication he displayed as an athlete has carried Steve to our nation's capital. As a freshman congressman from Oklahoma, Steve is a member of the Budget Committee, serving on the Health Care Task Force. Commuting home to Tulsa to spend time with his family is usually coupled with speeches, work on the many charities in which he is involved, and visits to area schools. Today, Steve Largent joins the Hall of Fame in his very first year of eligibility.
My faith is not a system of belief, not a code of honor, but a relationship with Jesus Christ, who provided his love in a lonely death. I could explore God's grace to me forever and never reach its depth and never find its limits. His blessing is the ultimate explanation for whatever is praiseworthy in my career and in my life. In football, I found temporary achievements and lasting relationships. It tested and shaped my character. I've seen the glory of this game. To be here in this place, at this moment, for this reason, is an honor beyond all my expectations. I owe you my deepest thanks. Thank you.
As a defensive end, Roy Selmon spent his entire career with the Tampa Bay Bucks, a career with many firsts. He was their first ever draft choice in 1976 and immediately established himself as one of the premier defensive players in the game. He became the first Buck to garner all NFC honors in 1978. He was in 6 straight Pro Bowls, and in 1979 was the NFL's Defensive Player of the Year. Athletics are still a large part of Leroy's life. At the University of South Florida, Leroy is the Associate Director of Athletics. And today, he becomes the first Buck ever to enter the Hall of Fame.
Also, we'd like to thank the fans throughout the years that supported me in Eufaula, Oklahoma, to the University of Oklahoma, and right in the Tampa Bay. Without that support of not only myself, but all those teams and the game of intercollegiate football and the professional football game, I wouldn't be here today as well. I'm so appreciative of someone in Tampa Bay who always put a sign in the corner of the end zone that says, Roy Selmon for the Hall of Fame. I don't know who that was, but that is very special. Thank you. Appreciate it. May God bless each and every one of you.
At 6'5", 250 pounds, and the speed to play wide receiver, Kellen Winslow was the epitome of the modern tight end. A key member of the San Diego offensive powerhouse, Kellen had a league-leading 89 receptions in 1980, was a 3-time All-Pro, played in 5 Pro Bowls, and was named to the NFL's 75th anniversary team. Perhaps his defining moment came with a heroic performance in an overtime victory over Miami. It was an incredible performance by Kellen Winslow, and made even more memorable when he was helped off the field, exhausted with his performance. Kellen remains in the sports spotlight. With law degree in hand, he has joined with Lynn Elmore and Precept Sports in the field of sports management and marketing. Today, Kellen Winslow becomes just the 4th tight end in NFL history to be inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
Today, I encourage the African American athlete to awaken and join me in accepting that challenge, to awaken and take our rightful role in society as leaders, to awaken and accept the responsibility that comes with fame and fortune, to awaken to the realities of the uncertain plight of the African American condition, even as we approach the 21st century. It is now with a great deal of humility and with the full appreciation of what the game has given to me, I am pleased to take my place among the greats of the National Football League. To God be the glory.
He was perhaps the greatest running back the game has ever known. And on the day he set the NFL's all-time rushing record, his uniform was sent to the Hall of Fame. His own arrival was only a matter of time.
Hi, I'm Walter Payton. My induction into Pro Football's Hall of Fame is an honor that will always be special to me. But that honor was made even more special because my son Jared presented me for enshrinement, something that no other son has done for his father.
Your friends and your fans, I say congratulations too.
We're both thrilled with the hall itself, a treasure chest of football history with its regal enshrinement gallery, its action theater, its authentic mementos and exhibitions. From 100 years of pro football, the hall does more than celebrate the game I love. It lets the future touch the past.
The Hall of Fame, where legends never die and the season never ends. This message furnished by the National Football League.
We're back. The score is tied 7-7, and Steve Largent was enshrined today in the Hall of Fame, the great Seattle Seahawk wide receiver. Steve, in 1976, you're drafted by Houston. You're cut in training camp as you're driving back to Oklahoma. How far away was the Hall of Fame for you 19 years ago?
Well, you talk about the rags to riches, outhouse to the penthouse story. I think my story typifies that.
It was a great day. Attracted the Speaker of the House, Newt Gingrich, here to see you go in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
That had to be kind of...
it really was. I mean,
for
as you know, his schedule is unbelievable, and he actually asked me if I didn't think it was a distraction. He would really love to be here and witness this honor. It's really nice.
Do you remember your first game as a rookie, Steve?
I do remember my first game as a rookie.
Do you remember who it was against?
It was against the Kansas City Chiefs. I was with the Houston Oilers. But
And?
our first regular season game was against you
First
in the
regular
Kingdome.
season game
That's right.
was in the Kingdome against the Cardinals, and we almost lose. I think it's like 30-24.
30-28.
And we can't figure out who is this left-handed quarterback playing pitch and catch suit going up and down the field, and we didn't know we were seeing the birth of Jim Zorn and Steve Largent. What a combination. Scared us to death.
Kickoff here is fumbled out of the end zone for a touchback by Jimmy Smith, and they'll take it to the 20-yard line. Well, for you, I mean, it's ironic how it works out. You go into the Hall of Fame having played with an expansion team, and two teams make their debuts today. What do you remember about the Seattle Seahawks as they began things?
Well, Al, not only that, but the other expansion team that year was Tampa Bay, and of course Roy Selmon is another inductee today. So it's pretty ironic now to watch the two new expansion teams. But it was a wild and crazy ride the first few years in Seattle. As Dan said, you never knew which team was going to show up. We could show up and challenge an established team like St. Louis, and we could lose 60-0 the next week.
Can you equate anything with your new job as a freshman congressman to the game of football?
Well, I think that there's a lot of parallels, actually, but the most important parallel, I think, is that I've learned quickly in Washington, D.C., nobody accomplishes anything single-handedly. It still comes with teamwork.
Right.
And that ability to work as a team player and offer your humility and services at the same time, that's how you accomplish things in politics as well.
Of course, it doesn't hurt if you have a great offensive line to protect your speaker.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
Randy Jordan just picked up 3 on the first play in this series at 2nd down and 7, and Brunell hands the ball to Jordan again, who fights his way close to a first down. When did you first begin to think about possibly running for office, Steve?
I think it was almost just over a year ago, Al, and I guess I got to the point where I was genuinely concerned about the future of my children, the direction our country was headed in, and decided to throw my name in the hat and run for office.
Mm-hmm. And a big victory.
Yeah,
right out of the blocks.
It's been a very good year. Winning elected in November into Congress, and then in January to the Hall of Fame. And people ask me now, what are you going to do next year?
I don't know. And also your first year of eligibility. That's impressive.
Yeah,
it really is.
But not surprising.
No, not at all.
Congratulations, Steve.
Yeah. Thanks
for the visit.
God bless.
Loved watching you play. Congratulations.
Thanks, appreciate it.
Steve Largent enshrined today in the Hall of Fame as Carolina and Jacksonville tied 14-14 after the Jaguar touchdown at Scott Sisson to kick off. And in just a moment, we'll be visiting with Roy Selmon as Tony Smith and Randy Baldwin are back to receive the kick.
You got psycho?
Baldwin from the 9 up to the 29-yard line. We were talking to Steve Largent before about how far away the Hall of Fame must have seemed to him when he was cut by Houston before he was picked up by Seattle. And for you, Leroy, in 1976, you play for Tampa Bay. They don't win a game all year, and today you're in the Hall of Fame.
Well, certainly it's a lot to be thankful for, to be in the National Football League Hall of Fame and to be a part of the continued history of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I'm happy to represent the team and all that we went through for those players and coaches and fans that supported us to have its first player into the National Football League Hall of Fame.
You know, you had such a remarkable career, Leroy. Do you ever look back and think how it would have been had you had somebody like you on the other side of the line? Maybe a couple more people like you to think how that would
By the way, I'm glad they didn't have anybody like you.
No, I really don't think about that too much. I'm just appreciative of the opportunity to play in the National Football League, and you know, you go out, you're only one person, you do the very best you possibly can, you play as a team, you win and lose as a team, and you just go from there. You don't worry too much about if this would have been or if that would have been. And overall, it's just been a great career, and opportunities to go out and play with a lot of great guys and against a lot of great guys like this one right here. I mean, one of the best offensive linemen in the league here.
You didn't need any help for him, huh?
Well,
not at all.
You know, Frank, your point is so valid because, and I laughed because I got the other guy. I was the right tackle, and that means I didn't have to play against Leroy Selmon. And it was so huge because when you went to play Tampa, it was the automatic. It was the way the game started, your whole game plan. Who are the two guys that we're going to have to put on Leroy Selmon? Because there wasn't, at that point in time, a left tackle in the game that could handle you one-on-one. It couldn't be done. You had the best club move that I've ever seen. And the club is where he knocks that guy from the inside and don't do it now. And don't do it now.
The one you can't do anymore.
Yeah, that's
Why don't
right.
you just
that's
do it
right.
to Frank, right?
Those old days are over and everything. But again, I just enjoyed the career, and I just thank God for it. Most of all, and my support from family, and I'm glad to be here today because I have a brother that's coaching in this game with the Jacksonville Jaguar. And
look at this, Leroy. You say it, and he appears.
There he is, and I'm so proud of him. Our whole family, brothers and sisters. My mom is all up here with us, and so this is just as big of a celebration as getting into the Hall of Fame as being him.
He's trying to get his outside backers to put some pressure on Kerry Collins, their #1 draft choice, who completes a pass here to Greg Clifton for a first down. And of course, the whole Selmon family is here today. Dewey, who gave the speech inducting you into the Hall of Fame, was your prom date, as we found out today.
He finally told it. He was my prom date, and a good one he was, and certainly he still is a good date. He did a good job up there today. So.
Leroy, tell everybody what you're doing now.
Well, currently I'm working at the University of South Florida. I'm an associate athletic director there, and our athletic department is trying to grow. One of our major projects is to bring on an intercollegiate football program, which I think is a great way to try to give back something that has been given to me while I was attending the University of Oklahoma, which is a good education.
Absolutely. Well, Leroy, we thank you very much, sir.
Okay,
thank you.
Congratulations, Leroy.
I appreciate it.
Good for
very,
you.
very
Real
much.
proud of you.
Thank you, Dan.
Man.
Well deserved.
Okay, thanks, Frank.
Terrific.
Yeah, well, thank you.
Thank you.
Good to be here.
Guy still scares me, though.
No, not at all. This one should be in the Hall of Fame right here. I'm telling you, right now.
You're too nice.
Leroy Selmon.
Thanks, Leroy.
Okay, thank you.
First man picked in the 1976 draft out of Oklahoma. Ball to Randy Baldwin. And Kellen Winslow has joined us in the booth, one of the new enshrinees, the great former tight end of the Chargers. And Kellen, as far as most people are concerned who have watched the game of football, you could have gone into the Hall of Fame in one late afternoon and early evening in Miami, in one of the most incredible performances ever. Share with us your feelings about being inducted into the Hall of Fame today.
Well, it's a bit overwhelming. We've been going ever since we've got here. And I don't think the real magnitude of what has happened to me today has sunk in. I think when I get home sometime next week and get a chance to gather everything that's going on, I will realize just how magnificent it is to be one of 180, one of which is right next to me here, in the Canton Hall of Fame.
You know, Kellen, as I look back over your career, and we had so many Charger games on Monday night, the one game that I remember more than any other we didn't have, and that was the playoff game against Miami in 81. 16 receptions, I think it was.
13. It gets bigger every year.
It will get bigger, but I mean, at the end of that game, they literally had to take you off the field.
Yeah, it was mostly cramps. My back cramped up, my back of my legs had cramped up, and it was difficult to walk. Although I wanted to, in a symbolic gesture, walk off the field because I walked onto the field. I guess I was a weaker of the bunch and couldn't get off the field, so they had to help me.
If I'm not mistaken, lost in a lot of people's translation of that game. You blocked the field goal.
Yeah, in regulation, 4 seconds left to go. It was back in the days when they had a leaper, and you can leap over the top, and I went over the top to tip the ball.
I'll never forget it. I can tell you that for sure.
Kellen, I know that a year ago, I'm standing here and I'm talking to Jackie Smith, who's being inducted into the Hall of Fame, and now I'm talking to you, both of whom you had a chance to play for Don Coryell. If you like to catch the football, it doesn't get much better than that, does it?
It doesn't get any better. My going to San Diego was a perfect marriage. You had a system that loved to throw the football, very versatile, and the first thing that Coach Coryell said to me when I got off the plane in San Diego and went to the press conference was not hello, not how are you doing, but how would you like to play some wide receiver? And ever since then, we were throwing the football.
Oh, yeah, and of course, Dan Fouts. And you mentioned that up on the steps today, your teammates in San Diego. That was one of the great offensive football teams that was ever assembled.
Well, you have to look at the talent around. Whenever you evaluate a player to see just how good that player is, how dominant that player is, you've got to look at the talent around it. You change the talent around Troy Aikman, he's an average quarterback. He is not the great, because he's got Michael Irvin out there and Harper out there. Well, not Harper anymore, but he's surrounded by Emmitt Smith, etc. It makes it a great, great ability for him.
Kellen, we had a chance at halftime to do a little feature on you, and things seem to be going extremely well for you these days.
They're falling into place.
Football afterlife.
Thank God, they're falling into place.
Yeah.
Going back to what you said, if you took away a lot of talent that surrounded you, it might have taken you one more year to get in the Hall of Fame.
At least one.
Believe me.
Kellen right now.
We're unique.
Kellen right now is the radio voice of the Missouri Tigers.
That's
And
right.
I want you to know, I kept that chair warm before you got it.
Thank you, Kellen. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Terrific.
Congratulations.
Appreciate it.
Terrific.
And everybody back home, very, very proud.
Thank you.
Kellen Winslow.